guys, welcome back to my channel. It is the end of another month, which means another book video. I am going to go into my November reads and my December hopefuls. I'm calling it hopefuls this time because I don't tend to hit that TBR, so hopefuls is a more appropriate name. So let's get into it. October was a bit of a weird month for me, so I didn't film a what I read in a month for October, but I wanted to be sure to film one for October because I feel like I made up for it in some ways because I got a lot more reading done and I read a lot more books, so I'm excited to share with you all. For our book club in November, we wanted to read something older and it was spooky season, so we wanted to do like a quick little thriller. So we actually read James Patterson, Along Came a Spider, and this is a book, obviously I know who James Patterson is, but I don't think I've ever read anything by them, or maybe I've read a couple, but I didn't know anything about like the movie or the series spinoff of this, so I was excited to get into it. At first, I felt like it was really hard for me to understand what was happening. The like different perspectives and reading different timelines and things was a little different for me at first, but once I got into it, maybe like 30 pages in, and I got the understanding of how the book was written, I was hooked. Every single morning I wanted to walk on the treadmill and just read. I wanted to sit on my couch after work and just read, and I feel like I hadn't felt that in a while, so I was really excited to have that feeling because it's been kind of a bit since I've felt that. So this one I absolutely flew through, and I think I gave it 5 stars. This one I really did enjoy. Essentially, this is about Alex Cross, who is a detective in DC, which is also cool because I live in Maryland, so a lot of the places that they were traveling to throughout this case were close to me and familiar to me, so I was able to follow along like geographically in that way, which was cool. But Alex Cross is a detective in DC, and he comes across this serial killer who is actually a serial killer who mimics different crimes of past serial killers. So he is like a copycat killer, but also has killed like hundreds of people in his lifetime, but he is so smart and able to get away with all of it. But eventually we find stuff out about the serial killer and potentially a personality disorder, and because Alex Cross is a detective slash psychologist, he's the one that's chosen to kind of figure out this case and go along for the ride. So this was really good. I liked this one a lot. I felt like it was super descriptive. I felt like I was just transported into the book, and I will definitely be reading the other book in the series that has to do with the same serial killer later down the line. But yeah, I really liked this one. I gave this one 5 stars. The next book that I read is The Pumpkin Spice Cafe. I wanted to read books that were like for the season, so I picked up Pumpkin Spice Cafe. It was free on Kindle Unlimited, and I just felt like it would be a nice quick read around the holidays for fall, and I've seen it everywhere, so I was like, let me just give it a shot. And I actually did like this one. I thought the little town was cute. It was fine. Like, I think I gave it either 3 or 4 stars. It wasn't like something where there's a lot of depth. It's definitely one of those like quick little romances, palate cleansers, but not something that you're gonna get a whole lot of like storyline and depth with. But it's fun for the holidays. I did enjoy it. I thought the characters were cute. I did think there was a lot of like cringy parts for sure. It did have some spice. And it was good. I liked it. It's essentially about a girl who moves to this small town where her aunt had a little coffee shop, and she's walking into this small town. Her aunt is wanting to sell the shop potentially, or have her niece take over the shop. On one of the first days there, she meets the delivery guy who is dropping off all the produce, who works in a farm nearby, and they obviously hit it off, and that's how the story goes. But it's supposed to be like a kind of a little bit of like a grumpy sunshine trope, because he is like the town mystery, and he like recently had a relationship where it was very public in this small town, and it ended very badly and very publicly, so now like the town is very protective of him, and obviously they have their little love story. But it was cute. I liked it. I think I gave it 3 or 4 stars. And yeah, I do recommend it as like a fun seasonal little like palette cleanser. Once I finished the Pumpkin Spice Cafe, I did move on to the rest of the Dream Harbor series, but I just went to the Cinnamon Bun bookstore book, and it is about a girl who owns the bookstore in the same town from before, and she is about to turn 30 and she is feeling really insecure about it, and she feels like she's someone who doesn't really have a lot of fun, or maybe doesn't have a fun life compared to other people or seemingly from the outside, and she wants to kind of live an exciting summer before her birthday in September. I did not like this one as much as the first one. I struggled with this one a bit. Honestly, these covers, you think it's gonna be this like sweet little small town romance, which it is, but this was a little too smutty for me, which I don't have a problem with smut and I like reading that, but it was like cringy and it was very much like too much. And I don't know, it was a little off-putting for me. I wasn't the biggest fan of it. The girl who runs the bookstore and wants some excitement in her life meets or knows someone else in the town who is meant to be like the town bad boy, who hooks up with all the people that are coming into town seasonally and tourists and whatever, and he like has a crush on her and has had a crush on her for a while, but she never gave him the chance before, and they go on this little adventure together, and obviously the rest is history again. But it was cute, but I am kind of stuck on if I'm going to continue this series or not because of this one, because I just felt like it was a little hard for me to get through. I do like romance and I love a romance series, but I don't feel like there's a lot of depth to the storylines here. Like when you read Windy City series, there's a lot of character development within the story and within like the whole series for the characters, and I don't feel like that character development is there in this one. They're very like Hallmark movie-esque but rated R. Yeah, that's how I'm gonna put it. I think I gave this one 3 stars. I got through it. It was fine, but definitely not my favorite. I probably wouldn't recommend it. This month is December and the new Housemaid movie is coming out, and I read Housemaid a few years ago and I read it really fast, and I also read it during a time in my life where I was really struggling mentally, so it was one of those like dark periods that I don't remember it very well. So I wanted to reread The Housemaid and remember the plot and remember what happened, because I could remember like the premise of it, but I couldn't remember the twists and things that happened. So I reread The Housemaid on my Kindle. Again, another freebie on Kindle Unlimited. Really took advantage of my Kindle this month, but I really loved it. I mean, I'm surprised I loved it as much as I did the second time, because typically, especially with like a Frida or a Colleen Hoover book, I'm expecting that, you know, I've read a lot since I've read this book, and I thought that like my standards would be higher, but I just genuinely think that this is such a good thriller. I was still like jaw dropped at the things that happened in this book, even though I have read it already, and I'm really excited for the movie to come out. I think that the casting is actually really good. I know that Sydney Sweeney is like very overdone, but I think that they casted every character so well. I think Amanda Seyfried is a great lead character for this movie, because she's a little like, she can be like haunting looking, but she can also be like girl next door, which I think is perfect for the character. I think that obviously they casted Enzo absolutely perfectly, and I do think that the Andrew casting was good too, because he looks so like sweet and innocent and easy to fall for. So I think that the casting was done really well after my second time reading it, and I'm so excited to go see it. We already have our tickets for the 19th. Me and a ton of my girlfriends are going to see it. I think we literally are taking up a whole row in the theater, so I'm really excited. My hopes are very high. I hope that the movie lives up to my expectations. The last book that I read for the month of November was actually a book that I listened to on Audible, and it was When Breath Becomes Air, and this was such a great book. I'm really glad that I listened to it. This is a memoir by a neurosurgeon who spends his whole career studying the brain and studying the kind of the purpose of life and death. And then when he is 36 years old, he's diagnosed with terminal lung cancer before he is finished with his studying. And so he is kind of on this crossroads of, do I continue my career and kind of hope that I'm going to live and hope that I can continue that legacy, or do I spend the rest of my life just serving my family and starting a family with my wife? And it was just really informative. I loved listening about his background on literature, his background in his medical studies, and all of the different like education that he had. I think it was really amazing to listen to because it's such a different field that I don't know anything about. So it was really interesting to listen to that. And then of course, just listening to the decisions that he had to make and the thoughts that he had to ask, the questions him and his wife had to ask themselves towards the end of his life. It's just things that obviously we don't want to ever think about, but questions that you have to ask yourself when you're in those situations. It's definitely something that I highly recommend you listening to, reading, checking out. I really think it is a beautiful, powerful story about the purpose of life and living to your fullest potential. It also made me really want to rewatch Grey's Anatomy. I just feel like I want to revisit the medical field a little bit. Okay, now on to my December hopefuls. I have started Queen of Shadows. I am continuing my Throne of Glass journey. I have not read anything in the series since October. I haven't read Heir of Fire since October, so I took a little month break. Now I'm reading Queen of Shadows. My goal was to finish Queen of Shadows, Empire of Storm, and Tower of Dawn by the end of the year, but that is a very hefty goal, and I think that starting off the year with a big series is going to be nice in like winter time, not around the holidays. I want to get a little bit more holiday reading in, so I am excited to start Queen of Shadows. I am like literally 25 pages in, that's it, but I'm going to Las Vegas this week and the flight's pretty long, there and back, and then I'll have a lot of downtime, so I think I will get pretty far into this week. I'm super excited. As soon as I started reading like the first chapter, I think it was about Dorian, and I was just like, I'm ready to get back into this. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to finish the series because I really want to get more into fantasy in 2026. I feel like 2025 was my year of like adult fiction, historical fiction, and now I want to move into like the fantasy world. I have a lot of fantasy books to read on my shelf, so I'm really aiming to finish Throne of Glass in the next couple months. Once I finish Queen of Shadows, I am going to go back into The House on the Cerulean Sea. Backstory with this one, I got 40% through this book with a audiobook from the library, and then I lost the rental and I wasn't able to finish the book, and that was actually a couple months ago too, maybe in September, and I have been dying to read it ever since I lost it on my library subscription. So I borrowed this from a friend. She had it on her shelf and I said, can I borrow that from you? And she said, I haven't read it yet, but go for it. So I'm gonna find where I was in this and finish this one after I complete Queen of Shadows. We decided to squeeze in another book club for December. Typically we go like a month and a half, 2 months until the next book club, but we really wanted to have a cookie exchange in December. So we are reading The Wish by Nicholas Sparks. We wanted it to be holiday-esque for the season, so I am hopefully going to borrow that book from someone. If not, I might see if I can get it from the library, but I don't really know much about the book other than it takes place around the holidays, so I'm excited to get into that one. I have read The Wedding by Nicholas Sparks, but that's the only Nicholas Sparks book that I have read, and I really liked it, so I'm excited to get into that one by him. If I feel like I want another Christmassy book, I will read The Christmas Tree Farm. This one I was like a chapter in because it was on Kindle Unlimited and I wanted to start a new book, so I started to read it, and it is about a character I wasn't expecting a book to be focused on, so I am excited to get into that if I have time for it. Hopefully it's better than the bookstore one. My hopes are high. I don't know why, but we'll see. stay tuned. I'll get back to you on that one. I hope it's a little less cheesy and maybe a little bit more depth. I'm being very hopeful for the month of December, but I would really like to maybe do like a tandem listen/read with Project Hail Mary, because I have heard such good reviews on this book. My fiance read this book a couple months ago and he was absolutely obsessed with it. He could not put it down. And then when I was looking on TikTok, everybody says that you have to listen to this book. So I kind of want to do like a dual listen and read situation so that I can get like, I don't know, get the whole effect of listening to it. So, but I think the audiobook's really long. When I looked on Audible, it said 16 hours and I don't know about that. I don't know if that can be finished in December, but I will definitely start it this month. And I'm excited for this one. I did read The Martian and I absolutely loved it. I think I read that like 5 years ago. So I'm excited to get into this one and then eventually watch the movie on this one as well that will be coming out. Finally, I always have a memoir in rotation and I am currently reading Small Fry by Lisa Brennan Jobs, who is Steve Jobs' daughter, kind of estranged daughter is what I'm picking up, and she is just going over like her childhood right now and how her and her mother have been like separated from him and what her life has looked like as a child, and like the juxtaposition of her very poor life with her mother versus her father like hitting this fame and having all of this money and not providing for them in any way. So I am probably like 10 to 20% through that one, and I will try to finish that one by the end of the month because I like to kind of start the new year with a clean slate. November was such a good month for reading. I got a lot of reading done, lots of little stories, and I'm excited to continue to move through the rest of the year. I have hit my Goodreads goal for the year. My goal was 35 books, which was a lot less than my goal last year, but I really wanted to make something tangible so that I wasn't focused on like reading crappy books, and I was focused on reading books that actually brought me joy and had depth to them. So I set my goal pretty low. I think I've read 48 books this year, and I'm excited to potentially add maybe 6 more to that list. And I think it's been a really good year of reading, so I'm excited to end the year off on a high note. Thank you so much for watching. If you like my book content, please follow me on TikTok. I make a lot of book videos over there, and I will see you next time.